Okay. All right, you can't see the screen, can you? Oh, you can? Okay, good, because I don't know how to advance the slides. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I just got a little bit of time up here, and I want to take you on a journey that I started 1 year ago, almost exactly to this day. I actually got to meet Tony Robbins face-to-face with a personal meeting. He heard about what I was doing with OsteoStrong and how we were helping people. He heard that we had just applied for a patent on a new devices that we had created to help people, and he wanted to see what it was about, so he flew out to meet with me, flew out to see OsteoStrong and be a part of it. He invited me to several events over the next 12 months, and in December of 2016, he became my partner in OsteoStrong. But before I tell you what OsteoStrong is, a really side piece of information that's very interesting is that Tony actually predicted that OsteoStrong would exist almost 30 years ago. You see, when he was in his 20s, he wanted to develop his physical strength to the point where no one thought he could do it. So he employed some very unconventional and arguably some pretty unsafe training techniques. But he did not get injured, and at the end of it, he was able to perform a 575-pound chest press, which is about 260 kilograms, and about 1,800-pound leg press, which is about 815 kilograms. And earlier this year, Tony said to me, he says, you know, at the time I achieved that result, he said, I predicted and believed that someday somebody would develop a system that would enable people to experience what I experienced without the pain and the risk of injury. And that's what we've done at OsteoStrong. That's what we came to come out and see. So what is OsteoStrong? Well, OsteoStrong, first you need to know what OsteoStrong is not. OsteoStrong is not a gym, we're not a diet, we're not a pharmaceutical, and we're not a supplement. What OsteoStrong does is it develops the strength of the musculoskeletal system at the cellular level by triggering something in everybody's mind that exists, adaptive responses that help you to grow tissue at the levels of bone and muscle in a way you have never experienced. People come into an OsteoStrong center for about a 7-minute, once per week session that is sweat-free, pain-free, won't leave you sore the next day, and you can come do it dressed as you are. It's literally a non-event. In fact, the sessions are so uneventful that we have almost 100% of our members come in every week to make a session. Now, the adaptive responses in the human mind are virtually the same for everybody. And so whether or not somebody is an extreme athlete or the elderly, man or woman, or any fitness level in between, the system works. It works extraordinarily well. But to understand really how muscular strength and skeletal strength is developed at the cellular level, you need to understand the importance of the skeletal system. You see, the skeletal system and your mind work together. If you're an athlete and you've ever done strength training and you try to develop your body to a particular level of strength and you hit a plateau, or if you are over 30 and your strength is declining slowly as you age, you're trying to manage that, but you just keep getting slowly weaker over time, one of the likely reasons for that is your mind is protecting you. You see, your mind will not allow your muscles to become stronger than what your skeletal system can handle. To think about it like this, your skeleton is like the chassis of a car and your muscles are like the engine. You would not put a Formula One racing engine inside of an economy car. If you did, the wheels would just explode off the car as soon as you hit the accelerator, right? So any type of system that you're putting in place to either slow down or manage your decline in strength as you get older, or if you're an athlete who's trying to break through a plateau, needs to include a system that allows you to strengthen your skeletal system as well. But how do you do it? You see, we've known for over 100 years that in order to develop bone density and skeletal strength, it requires pressure. But the question that was never asked or answered was how much pressure is actually needed. Until recently, in 2012, a researcher here in the United Kingdom wanted to know the answer. Performed an extensive study, and he found that subject of his study did not actually increase in bone density and skeletal strength unless they experienced pressure equivalent to 4.2 times their body weight. 4.2 times your body weight to trigger skeletal strength. What's more interesting is that OsteoStrong, at virtually every age and fitness level, people come into a weekly session and experiencing between 5 and 10 times their body weight. It's the exact same thing that Tony was doing in his 20s to achieve incredible strength gains. So how do we go ahead and do that? Well, what happens by doing that? There was another researcher, oddly enough, right here in England that heard about what we were doing, and he wanted to find out what kind of results we were seeing with the development of skeletal strength. And so he conducted a different study to find out what was going on. And this was a 6-month study, and here's what he found. The people in the study, all of them over 50, saw a 14.7% increase in their skeletal strength and bone density in just 6 months.
Wow.
To give you an idea about how profoundly unusual that is, the average human being will lose about 0.5 to 1% of their bone density every year after the age of 30. And here, in this study, subjects virtually saw a 15-year reduction in the age of their skeletal system in 6 months.
Yeah.
We thought that was pretty interesting. So we were like, okay, we saw this kind of thing going, pretty cool, I know. So we decided to compare the results of this particular study to over 152 other studies that looked at everything that people were doing to try to increase bone density and skeletal strength, and to see how well OsteoStrong stacked up against it. And this was the results of that comparison. OsteoStrong dominated. Pharmaceutical, exercise, everything. But what's more interesting about this particular study is that every other study was a 1-year study. It took these other modalities 12 months to achieve that result, which OsteoStrong did in 6 months. So I've talked a lot about skeletal strength, but OsteoStrong also helps out with the entire strength chain of the musculoskeletal system. So how about strength? Well, one of the things that we did, and what our system does, you need to know, when you come into an OsteoStrong someday, it measures the maximum force output that your muscles could generate every time you do a session. It only takes a few seconds, and it's pain-free, but it does this every time. So we have this data. We knew we were all getting stronger. We could see it happening with our members, but we looked at this data that was gathered from an early beta system that we were using, and over 5 years, with an average age of 52, participants and people that use the system saw a 290% increase in measured force production or strength.
Wow.
That sounds impossible. That sounds impossible.
Woo!
But we are seeing it happen ourselves. And the things that we were doing, the things we were capable of at all these different ages, this is really going on. So what we decided to do is we decided to look at athletes, people that were already young and strong and really close to the top of their game, and how well would this system affect an athlete. So what we did is we took a bunch of athletes, and we do this all the time now, and we measure the strength of athletes in the way they like to be measured. So we had them do as many of a certain bench press of weight they could do, how far they could jump, how high they could jump, and how fast they could run a certain distance. And then we had them do their first 4 sessions at OsteoStrong, 1 session a week for about 7 minutes, and then we test them again to see how well they do. And 100% of the athletes in 100% of the areas we test every time outperform themselves just by doing that in 4 sessions. It's extraordinary. Thank you. So we developed our own set of equipment. It's have a patent on it. There's nothing else like it in the world. Here's a picture of it. We call it Spectrum. You will only find it in OsteoStrongs. We call it the first-in-class robotic musculoskeletal development devices. And they are truly unique and they are incredible. So why do I tell you all this? Okay, these are available really just at OsteoStrong's, and how could that pertain to you? Well, OsteoStrong is a franchise system. I can't take this system around the world by myself. And so we decided to franchise it. We sold a lot of franchises in the United States. In fact, last week, one of the reasons why I was here is that we opened up the first OsteoStrong in this part of the world down in southern Spain. And when I signed a partnership agreement with Tony, he insisted on opening up 3 OsteoStrong franchises of his own in the United States. He believes in this. And so what I'm here to do is I'm here to try to identify 3 kinds of people. 1, people who are interested in being involved with me and Tony in developing OsteoStrong into a global brand. That's inevitable. 2, people that want to be involved as a master license to develop their own country in partnership with us. And 3, anybody who just wants to experience this when it comes to their area. Raise your hand if you would like to develop your musculoskeletal strength with 7 minutes of sweat-free effort once a week. Say aye. That's a pretty good market test right there. But I told you just a fraction of what OsteoStrong is actually capable of doing. It actually does a lot more than this. And if I had more time on stage, I would go into other studies that have been done and other things that it does. It's pretty remarkable. But if I just looked at the market potential of just one thing that we utterly dominate in, and that's osteoporosis, what is the market size and capability and potential for growth for OsteoStrong? We looked at it just here in Europe, sort of here in Europe. It's a 37 billion euro a year industry. Worldwide, 100 billion euro a year industry. And over the next 10 years, it's expected to triple.
Wow.
People who've seen the results in the comparison chart I just showed you of our research study have predicted that because of the results and what OsteoStrong has seen in people and our growth model, that osteoporosis will soon be a footnote in history. OsteoStrong has its own patented technology. It's one of a kind in the world, and we align our system with the 7 forces of business mastery that Tony Robbins teaches. So we have a unique system. So if this interests you or excites you, then I have a question for you. What are you passionate about? Are you passionate about helping other people? Are you passionate about your personal growth or contribution? Because if you are, then likelihood your values and mine and Tony are in pretty much close alignment. But what I told you earlier is a couple of the reasons why Tony got in business with OsteoStrong. But what I didn't tell you is why I chose Tony. There's a lot of reasons to want to do business with a guy like Tony, and I love the guy in ways I can't even really describe. But I chose Tony because I was choosing you. Because this is going to be a global brand, and it's going to grow quickly, and it's going to change the world. And we couldn't think of better people that we like to do it with than people that share our values. And so, thank you. That's you. This is my first time to speak on a Tony Robbins stage. And thank you. Almost seems like somebody should play music at that point. No. And in my estimation, I will be presenting this information to roughly 50,000 people between now and the end of this year alone. And the reason why I tell you this is not to impress you, but to press upon you this one thing. This is a franchise opportunity for anybody who's ever interested in helping others do what we're doing, to be in business with Tony and I. But when a franchise territory is acquired, it's gone. And when a master franchise territory is acquired, it's gone. This is a limited opportunity that is going to explode across the country, around the world, very quickly. And if this interests you, then I implore you now to please let us know who you are so we can start getting information to you. Because sometime this year, you're going to need to make the decision whether or not you're going to take massive action and get involved with OsteoStrong. And if that is you, if you have passion for helping other people, passion for your growth, and want to be involved with us, please let us know. I would love to shake your hand. I'd love to introduce you to my team. We're out there by the Business Mastery table. I love you all. I thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, everybody.
Give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. It is Kyle C. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Give him one more hand, ladies and gentlemen. Kyle C. All right, here we go. Yes. Stand up. How you doing out there? We're entering the home stretch, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, you